2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Oh, Levelle is out on the field.
That's another knockdown. You know, Jim. He got up.
You believe in miracles? Yes.
You are now listening to the All Things Sport Podcast with your hosts, Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio. Fellas, you know what to do.
What's happening? What's up? What's going on? It's the All Things Sport Podcast, and I'm Daimeon Banks.
And of course, I'm Pierre Banks.
Pierre, we are back with another episode of ATS, as I like to call it, the All Things Sport Podcast, where you and I discuss all things sport.
And what can be better, Daimeon? You got two young guys, strikingly handsome young guys. You can't tell because this is a podcast, but I assure you, we are strikingly handsome young guys just doing what we love to do.
Strikingly handsome? You're being modest. I'm gonna tell you something right now. This face belongs on the tissue. Shout out to the homie Marty Maul.
Good week of sports, Daimeon. Good week of sports, but how are things your way in beautiful Durham, North Carolina?
Things are good, man. Things are real good. Broadcasting right now from the Bank Sports Studios right here in Durham, North Carolina. Things are good at home. My wife, LaShawn, as you all know by now, I've said it a couple times on the podcast. She's about 8.5 months pregnant with our daughter, Loxley. Expected due date May 18th, so we're anticipating that, getting the baby room ready. Other than that, man, just working hard, trying to give, our listeners, everything that they need in the world of sports. Working on the YouTube channel, working on that Vad Lee documentary, the Vad Lee story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Vad Lee is a former quarterback at Hillside High School right here in Durham, North Carolina. Went on to Georgia Tech, transferred to James Madison University. So working on that. Just got a lot of things in the pipe, man. How are things going on your neck of the woods in Columbia, South Carolina?
Everything is good, man. Just living life, man. You gotta appreciate the little things and thank the good Lord that he blesses you with another one each day you wake up. I want to take the time to shout out and just say that I support Dan Le Batard, man. I've been listening to the Dan Le Batard show this week, man, and I feel him. I feel him on everything that's going on with the U.S.-Cuban situation. And, he's a little down because with the brother being Cuban, he sees the president going over and shaking hands with the Cuban president. But a lot of things going on with where his family has been persecuted. His people, his countrymen have been persecuted for years, man. And you never look at things from that different perspective until you hear it from the horse's mouth, man. And I appreciate folks like Dan Le Batard for bringing those different viewpoints to light. Salute to that dude, Dan Le Batard. Keep doing your thing. Don't worry about the haters on Twitter trying to get at you, man. When you feel strongly about something and you have the platform to voice your opinion, by all means, voice your opinion.
Yeah, you're speaking on that Dan Le Batard show, which airs on ESPN. Also have that with Stugatz. There's a lot of big things going on between USA and Cuban relations. Right now, President Obama was in Cuba meeting with President Castro of Cuba. Had Derek Jeter over there, a lot of celebrities, a lot of hoopla. So that's going on in the world of sports. It's March. So March Madness is poppington. Today's show, basically, we're going to give you hot topics, talk about, things that are going on in the world of sports. We already talked about that Cuban national team game, talk a little bit about March Madness. And to help us out to talk about March Madness and to just talk about himself and his story and what he's done will be head coach Levelle Moton of the North Carolina Central Eagles men's basketball team right here in Durham, North Carolina.
Round of applause for Levelle Moton.
Yeah, we are super duper quadruply. I don't think that's a word. I'm very excited, man, to have Levelle Moton on the show. He's actually going to stay on for like the entire hour, man. So we're pretty excited to be talking to him for a good long while. Hopefully, in the next couple minutes.
It's a real honor to have that brother on the show, to have him call in today and give his take on what has been such a story and remarkable life that he's led so far, man. And, you know, we feel a special connection to him because he grew up right down the street from us in Raleigh, North Carolina, and played basketball at North Carolina Central. Of course, coaches at North Carolina Central, resides in Durham, North Carolina. So good to see good dudes from the area doing good things and to show the world that we in Durham, North Carolina too have a lot of sense and we can be successful.
Show you right, brother, show you right. So we have head coach Levelle Moton on the show today, but before we get into that conversation with Coach Moton, he's gonna call in a couple minutes.
The All Things Sport Hot Topic.
Just want to talk about this first weekend of March Madness, man. We're coming up on the second weekend now. The Sweet 16 is set, but Pierre, that first weekend of March, man, we all knew that it was going to be crazy, man. We talked to Al Daniel on the show last week, former assistant coach, you know, at Tulsa, NC State, you know, now in the athletic department at University of South Carolina. We talked to him, and we talked about the parity in college basketball this season. You know, several number one teams occupied that slot during the regular season. But that first weekend of the tournament, absolutely friggin' Pierre. You got these double-digit seeds just not just beating top seeds, but soundly beating, like not, you know, leading the entire game, like no fluke whatsoever about their wins.
And I know your favorite game was the University of Texas Longhorns.
That wasn't my favorite game.
You don't even know.
That wasn't my favorite game.
Let me finish. I know you feel differently than I do, but I feel like Northern Iowa dominated the game. I feel like they led for pretty much the entire game. And I know you say they won on a last second half court shot, but they controlled the game. They deserve to win it. And that's why the good Lord blessed them with a generous bank shot from half court.
Yeah, but karma, she's a beautiful thing. And she came back to smack Northern Iowa right on that booty in their next game, and up by double digits on Texas A&M, looking to knock off yet another Lone Star State team. Up double digits on Texas A&M under a minute. Lose in double overtime. Insane. Now, Arkansas Little Rock knocking off Purdue. Purdue up 13 points, you know, with 3 minutes left. Arkansas Little Rock beats them in, you know, in overtime. You know, a lot of incredible games. You got Middle Tennessee knocking off the number 2 seed Michigan State. I mean, lead the game, not just knocking them off, led the game from start to finish. Ends an incredible career at Michigan State by Denzel Valentine. You know, Tom Izzo is, you know, his team was picked by a lot of pundits to go to the Final Four, and they were out in the first round. You know, you got Wichita State playing in the final in the last four in, and then they move on to play Arizona and beat Arizona by 20.
They beat them by 20. They beat Vanderbilt by 20. But let me just go back 1 second to the Middle Tennessee State and Michigan State game. Tom Izzo after the game looked so dejected. I mean, he looked like he literally just had an emotional moment, which I'm sure he did with all his seniors and with Denzel Valentine, and just, you know, we don't know what was said, and I'm just speculating. I'm not saying that this actually happened, but you can see the emotion just seeping through his face, man. And I feel worse for Tom Izzo than I did anyone the entire weekend.
Yeah, man. It's tough when you're predicted to go a long way in the tournament and you not only lose, but you lose early. Michigan State, like I said, you know, everyone had them in their Final Four and their brackets are busted. But you look at the ACC, Pierre. Duke, tough opening round game against in-state foe UNC Wilmington. Go on to the Sweet 16 after building a 27-point lead against Yale and almost blowing it, but they move on to the Sweet 16. University of North Carolina, Roy's boys, they move on to the Sweet 16, knocking off Providence in their second round game. ACC doing boss things in the tournament. 6 count them, 6 teams, NCAA record. 6 teams go to the Sweet 16, breaking their mark of 5 teams last year. And one of those 5 teams last year was none other than our NC State Wolfpack.
Pack life.
And it makes me chuckle when I hear people say that the ACC has fallen off. And whenever the pundits and any basketball aficionado talks about college basketball now, the ACC is like the last conference that they bring up. They always want to talk about the Big Ten, of course. They want to talk about the Big 12. The Pac-12 has all these teams and whatnot, what have you. But the ACC consistently puts the most teams further in the round of 68 now than any other conference. But the ACC is a legitimate conference. They are the legitimate best conference in America. And I think it shows year in, year out. And when you look at the North Carolina Tar Heels, my pick to win it all, as it pains me to do so, but my pick to win it all, I just don't see a team being athletic enough or being able to stop them consistently enough on the defensive end to beat them in this tournament. And you know Roy Williams is going to do a heck of a job getting his team ready for each round.
Yeah, Pierre, ACC doing boss things in the tournament. Again, 6 teams in the Sweet 16.
Syracuse Orange. Look at Syracuse. That's all right.
Look at Syracuse. I mean, a lot of people, said that they shouldn't have made the tournament. Now they find themselves in the Sweet 16.
That is all right.
The ACC is definitely representing in this tournament. And, with these Sweet 16 Elite 8 games coming up, this weekend. So we're going to, give you the rundown on those games and who made it to the Final Four on next week's show. But again, this show, incredible, man. We have none other than North Carolina Central men's basketball head coach Levelle Moton. He'll be joining us, man, for a solid hour. Got the brother on the line for a solid hour. But we have to take a commercial break. I know. You say you're going to be back, but we shall see. We'll be back on the All Things Sport podcast on Spreaker Radio.
The All Things Sport podcast, your source for a plethora of sports content.
For real? How much those scores? Because my man just bought a Miata.
Every Friday at 10 a.m. on Spreaker Radio.
The Capital City Qs present the Seersucker Soiree. Join the brothers of the Chi Iota chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated for Columbia's premier indoor-outdoor event, featuring a live band for the steppers and a DJ to smooth it out. Fellas, bring out your best seersucker fits, and ladies, make sure your sundress hugs those hips for the Metro's flyest groove for the grown and sexy. Saturday, May 14th at the Terrace of Adventure, 211 Gervais Street, Columbia. Purchase your tickets now at CapitalCityQs.com. That's CapitalCityQues.com. We'll see you there. We're back with more of the All Things Sport podcast with Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Welcome back to the All Things Sport podcast. And as promised, we have a very special guest on the line with us, head coach of the North Carolina Central Eagles men's basketball team, Levelle Moton. Coach, welcome to the show.
What's happening, y'all? Thank you for having me, man.
Welcome to the show, Coach. Again, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the All Things Sport podcast.
Oh, man, I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled.
We're truly blessed to get you on the line, man. A gentleman whose story is not that off from Daimeon and myself, man. We grew up in Durham, North Carolina, and you grew up down the street from us in Raleigh.
Yeah, I was actually born in Boston. Boston, Massachusetts is a part of town called Roxbury, in a housing project called Orchard Park Project that produced some great entertainers. Donna Summer, New Edition. That was my housing project, man. And for a while, it was the murder capital of the world. Like, it was the inception of crack cocaine. So stuff was just happening too fast and, too violently. So my mom decided to migrate down south to Raleigh. And my grandmother was here. My mom is originally from Dunn, North Carolina, Harnett County. So she migrated down to Raleigh, man. And, I've been in the triangle ever since.
to her surprise, Raleigh's not that far off from the environment that you came up in.
Right. It was crazy, man. Raleigh, we thought we were moving on up, but, we were moving from one housing project to another. But in essence, the difference was Boston is more like all concrete. It was just a bunch of asphalt, man. And when I came down to North Carolina, I had never